Hello and welcome to our Memorial Day celebration. Today we remember the men and women who have sacrificed their lives to preserve the freedom and liberty we all enjoy in our country, the United States of America. If you or a family member has served in the military at any time, presently or in the past, would you please stand if you are able so we can recognize you?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to ask you all to rise, remove your covers, and bow your heads for a moment of silence. This moment of silence is to remember a man named Bob Rainville. He was a member of our community. He was a member of our military. He spent his entire life here in Berlin. He served in Korea as a deployed soldier. He was a staff sergeant, and he passed last month. He's been here many times, and he's the true essence of why we're here today to remember our veterans and our service members. He lived the life. He appreciated the flag. He fought for us. He fought for you as children. He fought for you as adults to enjoy your freedoms. So having said that, please bow our heads for this moment. In remembering Bob Rainville. Thank you, Bob.
Please stand for the postings of the color and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our national anthem.
Abraham Lincoln was the President of the United States during the Civil War. He wanted a stronger federal government and was against slavery. It was his election that triggered the southern states leaving and the Civil War. He was determined that the country remained united.
In 1863, Abraham Lincoln made a speech at the Battle of Gettysburg that was extremely important. Although he says that the world will little remember what we say here, the world noted what he said and has not forgotten it.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure.
We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
But in large sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot concentrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living, dead, who struggle here, have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or deteriorate.
The world with little know, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced.
It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that for these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave us the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from this earth.
We now invite the 5th grade band to play First Fundamentals, March of the Romans, and Mechanical Monsters.
Here in Berlin, we have a parade in town each year at the last Monday in May, with gatherings at the South and North cemeteries.
During World War I, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae wrote in Flanders Field. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row that mark our place, and in the sky, the lark still bravely singing flies, scarce heard amid the guns below.
We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields.
Take up your quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye bake faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, the poppies grow in Flanders fields.
This poem is set to music by John Jacobson and Roger Emerson.
The poppies mentioned in the poem are often worn on the labels to salute our fallen warriors.
Taps is a bugle call played at dusk during flag ceremonies and at military funerals. Please stand and remain silent while taps is played and the colors are retired. Please do not clap after taps.
Thank you, everyone, so much for coming today. You may be seated. We just appreciate you all coming out to honor our military, especially, but not limited to those who are no longer with us. This whole thing could not be done, obviously, without Holly, without the students. So give them a nice round of applause, please. We also want to thank all the teachers, the paraprofessionals, all the staff that have helped with the students, kind of given us some guidance as this is our first year here. We also wanted to thank Audrey and Jackie for just kind of paving the way to prepare this kind of a program, because a lot of the groundwork was already done. Thank you for Mr. Campbell for getting us all started, for being here and being a leader, and for Ms. Rappa for all that she does behind the scenes. Also, thank you to Link and the Performing Arts Committee that's just helped us help the music program here. That's been so appreciated, all the support. Denise, Shane, and Brian for coming and representing the military and for presenting the colors. And again, just for everyone that has ever served, family members of those who have served, just for all that has been sacrificed. That's why we're here today, just to remember that.